The Bitcoin 2022 conference in Miami, Florida brought a lot of positive attention to Bitcoin and blockchain technology. There were many exciting moments from the conference, but one that deserves a deeper dive was a price prediction that literally shocked a room full of crypto enthusiasts. In a highly anticipated panel discussion, Bitcoin advocates Michael Saylor and Cathie Wood developed a very optimistic outlook on the future of Bitcoin. During the panel, Cathie Wood referenced a price prediction from an ARK annual report released in January of 2022. In this video, we will summarize the details of the report from ARK Investments that would predict how Bitcoin could exceed $1 million by 2030. This report is linked below, and the Bitcoin section starts on page 44 of the PDF. Please stand as we read together. Just kidding, we're not preaching today. Before we get into the details of the report, though, I'd like to take a second to point out how big of a price prediction this is. First of all, an increase from $45,000 to $1 million would be a 2,122.2% increase. That's a lot. Now, Cathie's prediction states that this increase would happen over the next 8 years, but that would still call for a 265.27% increase every year on average. When Cathie dropped this $1 million price prediction, she was visibly shocked by the crowd's delayed response as they processed what she had said. She even expressed her surprise by saying, "See, even you can't believe it. I expected a big roaring applause." This nervous moment illustrates the immensity and some might say the stretch that this prediction represents. So how the heck did ARK Investments arrive at this prediction that floored even a room full of Bitcoin's strongest supporters? Well, let's dive into the report and find out. The report starts with a timeline breaking down the major events and their correlations with the price movement of Bitcoin in 2021. Some major ones include Tesla allocating 8% of its cash to Bitcoin in early February. This is followed by Bitcoin hitting $1 trillion market capitalization in mid-February, then Canadian regulators approving the world's first Bitcoin ETF in mid-March. It's nearing the end of April that Bitcoin's market cap fails to push higher and reverses course lower as it receives a bearish blow in May when Tesla suspends Bitcoin payments for vehicle purchases amidst environmental concerns. The bearish headwinds don't let up moving into June as China calls for severe crackdowns on Bitcoin mining within its borders. By July, Bitcoin's hash rate hits a 2-year low, marking Bitcoin's bottom for 2021. By mid-July, however, Bitcoin is gearing up for a face-melting 135% bull run, technically triggered by a 3-month descending wedge flipping to support. Oh, and Cathie Wood of ARK Invest also spoke at the B-Word conference, is conveniently included as a major event around the explosive late July timeframe as well. Pushing into mid-September, El Salvador accepts Bitcoin as legal tender and Twitter enables Bitcoin tipping. On into October and November, the SEC approves the first Bitcoin futures ETF and Taproot activates on the Bitcoin blockchain. Exciting stuff indeed. For me, this chart reminds the reader that Bitcoin has maintained resilient growth through a year riddled with major setbacks, and we should expect a similar trend into the years leading up to 2030. This chart lays the foundation as the reader is then shown the story of the hodler and what the on-chain data is saying is motivating them. The first chart shows how Bitcoin's market cap grew by 96% in 2021, and the second chart illustrates the positive correlation between accumulation addresses and long-term hodler supply. Both of these charts are included to demonstrate that Bitcoin holders are focused on long-term fundamentals. The next page shows how Bitcoin is taking global settlement market share by comparing its year-over-year growth in annual transfer volume, average daily transfer volume, and average transaction value. The second chart shows the incredible leap from 2020 to 2021 in annual transfer volume, which marks the point where Bitcoin annual settlement volume surpasses Visa's payment volume for the first time. Summarizing a bit more with the next few slides, Bitcoin's scalability has greatly increased through the activation of technological breakthroughs like Taproot and Lightning Network, which increased Bitcoin's capacity by 210% in 2021. In the next slide, Bitcoin's institutional holders are ranking their Bitcoin holdings. This data is largely inaccurate now, but still demonstrates that institutions are competitively buying up Bitcoin. As of this report published in late January of 2022, institutions held 7.91% of Bitcoin's circulating supply, which equals 89.7 billion United States dollars. The next slide demonstrates the major milestones experienced through the process of El Salvador's national adoption of Bitcoin. Some interesting points include that their Congress approved the Bitcoin law by a supermajority, meaning that it was very popular. Shiba wallets surpassed the number of bank accounts by the end of September in 2021. In the next slide, ARK addresses the concern over Bitcoin sustainability, and in the next slide shows how Bitcoin mining has evolved into a multi-billion-dollar industry that incentivizes global shifts towards renewable energy as miners become buyers of energy by nature of their operations. Then we get to the good stuff. The following slide compares the world's largest asset classes to Bitcoin. The largest asset class being global real estate, valued at $220 trillion, global bonds at $124 trillion, global M2 at $123 trillion, global equities at $106 trillion, gold at $10 trillion, and Bitcoin valued at 2021's high of only $1.1 trillion. This asserts that for Bitcoin to reach $1 million per coin, it would have to 25.9x its market capitalization. However, stacked up side by side, the reader could see how $1 million could very well be a reality. All it would take would be for the world to divest from the major asset classes into Bitcoin, which is exactly what the last slide breaks down. Bitcoin would need to steal 50% of gold's market cap, get 5% of the cash from the S&P 500 balance sheets, gain 2.55% of institutional investment, gain 5% of high net worth individuals' buy-in as a seizure-resistant asset, gain 1% of each nation state's treasury holdings, process 25% of U.S. bank settlement volumes, excluding the top 4 countries in the world. Bitcoin would need to gain 10% of the emerging market's M2 currency, and lastly, Bitcoin would need to process 50% of global remittances at 1.5x velocity. So now I pose the question to you. Can these requirements be met in order for one Bitcoin to be worth $1 million? And if not, how long will it take? Cathie Wood and the researchers at ARK Investments have tried their darndest to lay out what it would take for Bitcoin to become dominant, and as for me, I think this timeline is actually doable. I'm not saying it would be easy, but if Bitcoin can stay as resilient to bearish headwinds and setbacks as it was in 2021, then the world's largest chests of money will certainly start to act on the urge to hitch their wealth and their country's wealth to the best currency and asset class the world has ever seen. Let me know in the comments, is Cathie Wood being overly optimistic with this prediction, and which of the divesting requirements do you think would happen first? Anyway, guys, before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Holy cow, you're at the end of the video. You're one of the good ones. I give you a thumbs up. If you want to give us a thumbs up, make sure you do that. And if you're not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, if you really want extra bonus points, you can comment what you think down below. That's all we got. See you next time.